Breakups can be devastating, especially if you still have feelings for the other party. While a lot of people can stay friends after a breakup, many opt to cope with the situation by cutting off contact with the ex-lover until they have emotionally moved on. However, when you get into a habit of having someone as an integral part of your life and updating them throughout the day, it can be a habit that's hard to stop. Thus, a lot of people are stuck in the loop of constantly breaking their resolve, contacting the other person, and regretting it after. Today, I am going to be giving tips on how to stop texting your ex. The examples are based on the context of a former romantic relationship, but these tricks can also be applied to other situations, such as a friend that you're planning to stop contacting, or someone who has recently rejected you that you're not ready to face yet. In an even broader context, some of these tips can even help combat other types of addiction. 1. Communicate to them about your decision. If you do decide to cut off contact with someone, the recipient may be upset and confused, because they could perceive this as an abandonment from someone they care deeply about. So before you break contact with someone you still care about, rather than dropping off of the face of the earth with no explanation, give some information about what you're going through at the moment so it will be easier for them to accept. If they have wronged you in some way, now is the time to talk about it and find closure. If you prefer a non-conflictual approach, you can start by assuring them that you mean no ill will toward them. Keep in mind that even if you were considerate in your phrasing, it is still possible for the former lover to get upset from losing touch with you. It is okay to take some time to take care of yourself first, for the sake of your mental and emotional well-being. It's important to make clear what your expectations and boundaries are, so the other party knows what to expect through this period of no contact and how to respect your wishes. You may or may not want to rekindle your friendship after a certain time has passed. It is also important to respect their boundaries. 2. Change their contact name. Some of you may be familiar with the term operant conditioning. It refers to a way of learning in which an action becomes associated with an outcome through repeated exposure. In this instance, we're interested in positive reinforcement, when an action leads to a reward, causing one to perform that action more frequently. For example, if a rat was trapped in a box with multiple levers and buttons, but one lever gave a nicotine injection every time the rat pressed it, the rat would learn the association between this lever and the good feeling associated with the nicotine over time, and constantly press on the lever. Pressing the lever is a neutral action that is not inherently fun or rewarding. We call that a response. Would be paired with a reward or outcome, which is the nicotine. If the rat learned that pressing the lever led to nicotine administration in a specific context, such as a tone playing in the background, or the box containing the lever, presenting these things to the rat would increase lever pressing compared to if a different tone was played, or if the rat was in a different box. The context would be eliciting stimulus that reminds the rat to press more on the lever. In the context of a recently ended relationship, throughout the relationship, we have learned the association between reaching out to contact a partner and getting attention and validation. So in this context, the eliciting stimulus can be anything that reminds you of them and makes you want to text them. The response is the act of texting and calling them, and the outcome is getting a reply that makes you feel happy. According to Skinner's three-term contingency theory on operant conditioning, the stimulus elicits the association between the response and the outcome. For example, if the same tone played when the rat was learning the response, the rat would get a reminder that, if I press this lever, I might get some of that wonderful nicotine. In your situation, maybe something happened that reminded you of the person, so almost automatically, you pull out the phone to text them. Of course, it would be more efficient to delete your contact information, but I understand that for some, this can be very difficult. Perhaps you hope to reconnect with the person later, or maybe you want to stash away past conversations for memories. So what I recommend is temporarily changing their contact name to something else, something that helps remind you of why you stopped contacting them in the first place. Maybe a quote on independence, or a simple, "Don't do it, you're better than this." What this does is it induces a break between the onset of the stimulus that reminded you of the person and your response. So you have the chance to break out of the stimulus response outcome loop and think twice about your decision. 3. Reach out to friends. After a breakup, it often feels like we're all alone in this world, because more than anything, the person was also a friend, someone who took care of you when you're feeling down, understood your neuroses, and shared your interests. So when this person is missing from your life, now is the perfect time to reinforce your bonds with family and friends, and make some new connections. When you feel yourself instinctively pulling out your phone to share a new song, or a video, tell a joke, celebrate an accomplishment, or complain about an inconvenience, remember that the ex isn't the only person you can contact. Use this opportunity to reach out to a friend instead. Your friends might enjoy the music you were wanting to share, or celebrate your accomplishments with you. They might appreciate the gesture of you thinking about them and trying to connect with them. You might end up sharing some laughs, or slowly understanding and relating to each other at a deeper level. 4. Wait 5 minutes before you act. After you get the urge to message the person, set a 5-minute timer to reflect on what elicited this urge and whether this is really what you want. This is a delayed discounting graph. What this graph illustrates is the perceived value of the reward decreases as time passes from when the choice presents itself. As time passes between when you have the option to make a decision and when the reward becomes available, even a very large reward can seem smaller. I'm sure this is one we can all relate to. If Johnny wanted to go on a diet and get that beach bod in 6 months, but he runs into some ice cream cake on his friend's birthday party, the small reward of tasting that sweet, sweet ice cream cake can easily override his desire to get fit, even though his game of getting fit might be more important to him. However, if Johnny's best friend warns him a day before, there will be ice cream cake at my party, this increases the latency between when Johnny was confronted by the idea of cake and when Johnny receives the cake. Johnny will think over his decision for a while, make up his mind earlier, and is less likely to get tempted by the cake. So, when you get the urge to text, they who shall not be named, take a deep breath, set a 5-minute timer, and reflect over what caused the urge this time, and whether this is something you really wanted, and whether you can text a friend instead. Tell yourself, I'm not going to text this person in the next 5 minutes. This increases the latency between when you first feel the urge and when you have to make a decision to text or not text them, and makes restraining yourself seem like a better option. 5. Draw a flowchart. Alright, so you've set up the 5-minute timer. Let's remind ourselves why we stopped texting the ex in the first place, and if you still want to text them, it might help to draw out a flowchart of what may happen afterwards. I will just crudely draw a flowchart as an example. Keep in mind everyone's situation is different and my sample flowchart might not fit your situation, so come up with your own. Johnny wanted to text Jane, who has previously cut contact with him. So he thinks, after I text Jane, I will anxiously and obsessively check my messages to see if Jane has replied, or I will regret it immediately and avoid my phone for the rest of the day out of fear, both of which will lead to increased worry and decreased productivity for me. If Jane does reply, Jane may be happy to hear from me and values the past connection between us as much as I do. But I would have blurred the boundaries that I tried to establish with her earlier, causing her undue confusion. Then I might have to re-establish my boundaries, but by this point I may have lost credibility, and she might feel abandoned and hurt once again. If Jane is happy to hear from me, but does not put as much significance on our past connection as I do, I may receive a pleasant reply, but the message I have fought and tormented myself over does not matter nearly as much to Jane as it does to me, which isn't worth the stress I have put myself through compiling the message and waiting for her reply. If Jane is not happy to hear from me, or if Jane does not reply, this will be a blow to my already fragile self-esteem. That's right, Johnny. Just let your fear of being a burden to others overcome your desire to express genuine emotion. 6. Set up a reward system. Setting up milestones and celebrating them can be a great incentive to keep going, so set up a reward schedule ahead of time. After you have not contacted the person for a while, it is time to reward yourself. Because it was emotionally draining and challenging, but you pulled through. Give yourself a pat on the back. 7. Troubleshoot. If you do have a relapse at any point, don't blame yourself too much, and analyze the situation. What happened that led to this relapse? Did something remind you of them? Was it stress in other areas of your life? Was it the influence of substances? What is one way you could have dealt with this differently if it were to happen again? Remember that even though you did not meet your goal, not all hope is lost. Through this relapse, you have learned valuable information that you did not previously have when trying to cut contact first time around, and you will be able to utilize this information in the future. 8. Foolproof strategy. Lastly, if all else fails, I present to you the ultimate foolproof strategy. Thank you guys so much for watching. I know my stuff is still a bit rustic, but I'm trying my best not to let my attempt to start a new hobby be once again tainted by constant self-flagellation. I would like to thank Hosuh for popping my fan art cherry. She drew me as a garlic. It's really adorable and she's really adorable, and for more of her amazing artwork you can find the link to her Twitter in my description.